Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Mary had a little lamb.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
You're not going to raise that fucking price. You understand?
They're ripping the shit out of the sea. I would bomb the shit out of them. And you can tell them to go themselves.
Listen, you motherfuckers, we're going to tax you 25%.
I'm going to bomb the shit out of them. It's true. I don't care.
It's Friday, you bastard. Woo! Pepe!
Oh, no. Pepe!
Pepe! Oh, God. Why are they calling fascists and neo-Nazis and supremacists? Why are they calling them the alt? Right. Why do we need a new PC name for the most disgusting behavior on the internets? Why? Why do we have to give them some sort of because they're on a PC? A PC name. I thought you hated political correctness, you white, Nazis. 8-8. Oh, I know. I mean, really, why do you need a politically correct name? Why don't you just call yourself, have the balls of your being and call yourselves what you are? And that is neo-Nazis, white supremacists. They tried racialist, which sounds like facialist, which is just too feminine for the tattooed women out there. I mean, honest to God, I'm like freaked out about you people, and I'm very disappointed. Wow, do you hear that? It's God.
It's right above us.
It's God. God is peeved. He's peeved at the white supremacists for making a softer side of their image. It's the softer side of fascism is what it is. Hey, BS. I call BS. Pepe! and what the hell is that? Do you guys out here, do you know what Pepe is? Do you know? I'm counting on it. I'm counting that our audience is, sophisticated enough to know what's going on the internets. But for the older people, like my mother, who's still going, Google, can you hear me? It's this, they pride themselves, the neo-Nazis do, the white supremacists. They pride themselves on their memes. They think their memes are so freaking fabulous. Now, where are our gay people? Where are you on this, Paul? You're really good with video. You let me look like this. Okay, fine. You don't want to get into my personal space, but you're in charge of our videos and our graphics and honest to God,
You mean you want your very own meme?
I want my very own meme. And if they're going to take like some okay, what Pepe is. Pepe is a cartoon character. Pepe is a frog. He's a frog. An amphibian who came from some gay boy's life cartoon comic book. Okay? And so now the white supremacists have adopted Pepe as their mascot, and they put him everywhere so that when you see Pepe, you know you're in friendly territory if you are a Paul LePage white supremacist. If you are a Donald Trump white supremacist, if you are, tweeting, white supremacy, and if you are, if you feel your white identity is under attack. And you tweet about it, then Pepe is known to you. But everybody should know. And I want my own. I mean, and I don't want an amphibian. I don't want a frog. Which are you admitting that you're part of the plague? Are you admitting that you're akin to locusts? Because you are. I mean, I'm not really clear on why they settled on a sort of gay frog named Pepe as their mascot. Whoa, see, God is really, really pissed. I wonder if you could hear that. Do you think it could hear it? I don't know. I mean,
possibly. It's pretty severe.
It's pretty hectic here. We're having a biblical storm, is what it is. And after the rain come the locusts, and then come the frogs. It's the Jewish part of the Bible, which of course The white supremacists won't know anything about. Hey, maybe our meme could be a piece of matzah or something. No. Dancing matzahs? Dancing rabbis? I don't know. The original Bible have some reference to it or something. Well, I guess they did that with their frog plague. I mean, admit it. Anyway, I think the media is making a huge mistake. I think they're making an enormous, ginormous mistake. They are literally missing the story, and every producer knows it. Every producer, because the producers are the young ones. The producers are the hip ones. The producers are the ones who are on the Twitters, they're on the Vines, they're on the Instagrams, they're on the Snapchats. I mean, they know all this stuff, and they're following weird stuff, weird crap, and they're telling their bosses, you're really messing up this story, because saying that Hillary and Trump traded accusations yesterday, each calling the other a bigot, a racist, or, some sort of a white supremacist, you missed the story. The story is that the entire Trump campaign has been appealing to people who feel their white identity is under attack. Fascists, neo-Nazis, the young ones with their Pepe memes and their tattooed women with the big cleavage, getting on the internets and saying, all kinds of hostile, disgusting. Wow, now he's weeping.
Alt-right.
The alt-right.
Now, alt-right is short for alternative as the alt-right. Now,
yes, we're very hip to you. But I have to say that, the entire Trump campaign has been nothing but one long meme of fear and loathing and hatred of others, of Muslims and Latinos and blacks, and support for conspiracy theorists, and support for Bannon's, disgusting Breitbart. Really, and so the media is screwing this whole story up, because finally yesterday Hillary pointed out the quality of Trump's entire campaign, the quality, the pandering, the secret conversation that Trump is having in public with Pepe and his followers. And the media has turned it into whatever you say, bounces off of me and say, I'm rubber, you're glue. Whatever bounces off me. It's not that at all. She stood there. And by the way, if you really wanted to report Anderson, you might have some snappy little comebacks when he lies to your face. Did you see that last night on the CNN? I just took one or two clips from it because it was really pathetic. I mean, Donald Trump agreed to meet Anderson. It was kind of one of those Sarah Palin meetings behind the curtain. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's like this. He's like standing in front of a curtain like this, and getting ready to go on the stage in New Hampshire. And, he allows Anderson to come relatively close into his space to ask him some questions about his racist past, about the United States versus Fred C. Trump, and the United States versus Donald J. Trump and Trump management for consistently and repeatedly discriminating against African Americans renting apartments in the Trump buildings in Queens. And he said, nothing ever came of it. Nothing ever happened. We never paid any money. Well, lots came from it. Lots came from it. Donald Trump had to take out newspaper ads advertising that he would not discriminate against black people in New York. Okay. Donald Trump had to, there were all these agreements that were made. So, wouldn't it be nice if Anderson had a snappy little comeback? For Donald Trump saying, nothing happened, nothing came of it. I don't know what you're talking about. He's not a racist.
It's a movement, folks, like they've never seen before.
It's a movement. Pepe!
Now, alt-right is short for alternative.
Oh, good. I'm glad you played that.
Right. Now,
I'm glad you did that because it puts me back on the topic here. Now, here, if the media really wanted to show how right Hillary was, how because Donald Trump said she doesn't know what the alt-right is. There is no alt-right. There is no. You're right. They're just plain old garden variety fascists. But he said,
are you embracing the alt-right movement? Then?
I don't even know. Nobody even knows what it is, and she didn't know what it was. This is a term that was just given. That frankly, there's no alt-right or alt-left. All I'm embracing is common sense.
Well, Steve Bannon did say Breitbart is sort of the voice of the alt-right.
I don't know what Steve said. All
I don't know what he said.
I can only speak for myself.
He's my campaign
You
manager.
see the crowds we have. You see the enthusiasm in them. These are great people. These are people that have not been heard for many years, and now they've been heard. First time in many, many decades. In fact, some people say the first time, period. And I think we're going to do very well. You see what's going on with the polls over the last 3 or 4 days. I think we're going to do very well.
Oh, God.
I want to read.
She is somebody that's all talk, no action. Look at the lies. Look at the deception. Look at what's happened with her emails. Look at the erasing of 33,000 emails.
He's never
She
gonna
should be
stop
ashamed
saying
of
that.
herself. She should get back to work for the people. She doesn't do that.
I want to read you one more thing that she just said today in her speech. She said, "This is what I want to make clear today. A man with a long history of racial discrimination who traffics in dark conspiracy theories drawn from the pages of supermarket tabloids and the far reaches of the internet should never run our government or command our
No, it's an
military."
incorrect statement. First of all, we were sued many, many years ago when I was very young by
27,
the government.
he was
Sued
almost
many, many
30 years
companies.
old.
You know that. It wasn't me. It was, they sued many
But
companies.
your company was sued for
Excuse me.
not allowing black people
And you
to...
know what? They found nothing. They found absolutely nothing.
You settled.
They bring up a case. I settled with no awards, no nothing.
But didn't people in your company use the words?
I don't even know. Honestly, what a superintendent does at a building, that I can't tell you. But I can just tell you that they settled the case, and that was the end of it. It was many years ago, and I guess they found we did nothing wrong because we didn't have to do anything. We didn't have any payments to make. We didn't have to pay $20 million in fines. We didn't have any.
You didn't pay any money in order to settle?
We didn't. It's a long time ago, but I don't believe so, no.
Okay, here's he didn't pay any money to settle except to the newspapers that he had to place ads in by court order. And he also, here's why they settled. Okay, just let's review this little piece of history here. When Roy Cohn, who was Joe McCarthy's lawyer, remember McCarthyism, the big red baiting scandal. You remember the after long last or have you no sense of decency hearings in the Senate that ended Joe McCarthy's commie hunting, blacklisting of Lucille Ball and her husband Desi Arnaz, and a lot of people in Hollywood and all that. So Roy Cohn became like Studio 54 dance buddies with Donald Trump. Yeah, all that's missing is the print rayon shirt with like houses on it, and the deep V, the very very deep V neck with the Coke spoon. They would go out partying at Studio 54 and Elaine's, and they dance the night away, do a little locker room. Oh, Roy, you may be short, but you're looking good. Like that there. Yeah, and so Donald Trump and Roy Cohn became buddies, and Roy Cohn, most famous for, representing and defending Joe McCarthy, became, dance buddies with Donald, as Donald, went to all the hip and cool 1980s clubs, 1970s clubs, actually. And anyway, Roy Cohn was part of the legal team in U.S. Now, he says he wasn't, his companies weren't really sued. It was like a whole bunch of companies. No, the case was called United States versus Fred C. Trump, Donald Trump, there was no J at the time, and Trump management. That was the case. You can look it up because it's there in all its glory. And the legal team, Roy Cohn, went after the claims that Trump's own employees made under oath. Trump's employees testified that they were instructed by management to put the C for colored, or the number, I think the number nine, like they were supposed to write NO.9 if the person seeking an apartment was black. They would code the application so that it would just go, nowhere. And the employees from Trump management, Fred's own employees, Donald's own employees, they testified at the trial. Now, one guy was so scared of Donald Trump, he said he refused, he would testify, but only if he could remain anonymous, because his quote was, "I'm afraid the Trumps would have me knocked off," or words to that effect. He was scared that Trump would have him killed. Anyway, he testified that he was instructed to mark rental applications from blacks with the letter C for colored, and that, quote, he did this every time a black person applied for an apartment. That's from an affidavit. The employee said he didn't want to be identified in the case because he was afraid, and this is in quotes, that the Trumps would have him knocked off, or words to that effect. Now this is the lawyer on the side of the government, Ms. Goldweber, who's saying this, and the court transcripts do show that the Trump lawyers attempted to put the witnesses on trial, to expose them, to go after them, and to attack their credibility, and to scare them, and to intimidate them into changing their statements. And they also went after the government's lawyer. So they drafted an affidavit for the employee. Roy Cohn did. He drafted an affidavit for the employee to sign, and he wanted the employee to deny that he ever made these statements. He wanted him to sign an affidavit saying that the Justice Department lawyer told him to lie, or she would throw him in jail. And the employee described himself in the affidavit as a Spanish-speaking Puerto Rican hired directly by Mr. Donald Trump. Well, the judge heard all this, and Roy Cohn made his case in front of the judge, and he told the judge that Goldstein, the attorney for the United States, was conducting Gestapo-like interrogations on these witnesses. And one of Roy Cohn's friends wrote to the Justice Department that its agents were descending upon the Trump offices like 5 stormtroopers. And he wanted the judge to hold Ms. Goldstein in contempt of court. And the judge laughed in his face and said, "This is utterly without foundation." He laughed. And that's when Trump decided he would settle this case. And part of the settlement was he had to pay for advertising saying that Trump rents to minorities.
For a commercial-free, on-demand, whenever, wherever listening experience, visit RandiRhodes.com for your personal premium podcast today. To speak to Randy, call now, you bastards. 561-270-3844.
Hello.
The Randi Rhodes Air Force.
I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. On this day in labor history, the year was 1839. That was the day that the Amistad sailed into Long Island, New York. The Amistad served as a Spanish slave ship. 53 captives, led by an enslaved rice farmer by the name of Joseph Sink, had revolted against their captors and taken control of the ship. They came from what is now Sierra Leone, Africa. They had endured the brutal Middle Passage on a Portuguese slave ship, the Tacora. They had landed in Havana, Cuba, where they were transferred to the Amistad. From there, they were supposed to sail to a Cuban sugar plantation. The transaction was illegal. Most of the major slave destinations in North and South America had outlawed bringing in newly enslaved people. But since existing slave labor was still used in these areas, the illegal slave trade continued. On July 2nd, the African captives escaped their chains and set upon their captors before they could load their guns. They killed the ship's captain. The Africans demanded to be returned to Sierra Leone. The U.S. Navy intercepted the Amistad as it sailed up the U.S. coast. The Africans were thrown into prison and charged with murder. The case garnered national attention and made it all the way to the United States Supreme Court. Former President John Quincy Adams presented the defense for the accused. The court found in favor of the Africans. 35 were returned home. The others had died while incarcerated or at sea. The Amistad became the subject of a 1997 film by Steven Spielberg. And while the Amistad became famous, it was not the only one. Similar uprisings were attempted on hundreds of slave ships during this era. Labor History in 2 brought to you by the Illinois Labor History Society and The Rick Smith Show. For more information, go to laborhistoryin2.com, like us on Facebook, and follow us on the Twitters at Labor History in 2.
The Randi Rhodes Show is live on randyrhodes.com and the free Progressive Voices app for Android and iOS. Visit the App Store or progressivevoices.com now.
They said in October I'd be dead in 6 months. It's also what happens when you listen to the radio host Alex Jones, who claims that 9/11 and the Oklahoma City bombings were inside jobs. He even said, and this really just is so disgusting, he even said the victims of the Sandy Hook massacre were child actors and no one was actually killed there. I don't know what happens in somebody's mind or how dark their heart must be to say things like that. But Trump doesn't challenge these lies. He actually went on Jones's show and said, "Your reputation is amazing. I will not let you down."
Let that sit there for a minute and realize that they had a chance to interview him on CNN yesterday. The Anderson did. Very intense, Anderson Cooper is. He's very intense with the eyes and the face, right? Very intense. However, when he got a chance to interview Donald Trump, nobody asked him about why did you go on a show like that? This guy is, the most insane conspiracy theorist that's ever come down the pike, and he's got, this giant audience of angry white people who think that their government is out to get them, and you did nothing when you appeared on his show but agree with him and give him permission to keep on telling angry, disillusioned white folks who haven't worked in 30 years because, they have beer in the morning instead of breakfast, that he was right. And nobody even... And so Alex Jones responded yesterday. And he came out like, brazen until he started to move his lips and speak. He was really upset that he said that Oklahoma City was a false flag operation. He was furious that Hillary Clinton said that he said Sandy Hook never happened until he started to speak. And then he made her case.
It's what happens when you listen to the radio host Alex Jones, who claims that 9/11 and the Oklahoma City bombings were inside jobs. He said the victims of the Sandy Hook massacre were child actors and no one was actually killed there. Now, let's stop right there, because that's lies and twisted disinformation.
That's lies.
Oklahoma City was a total false flag with NATO, the ATF, and the CIA, and the FBI. And we know the names of the men from the witnesses in the building, from the police officers, and from the declassified information that came out. The bombs in the building. General Parton, the former head of Air Force Weapons, he went public about the bombs being inside, the outside being a diversion. It goes on and on and on. And so, yes, that was a false flag. And you ask, why do they use foreign agencies? That way they're all involved. Nobody can blackmail the others.
Oh, my God.
And it's been declassified. The London Guardian's reported the Germans have been caught doing bombings to blame right-wing groups as well as a national program in the 90s. Yes, I do say that was a false flag completely. There's different types of false flags. And then they say that I say Sandy Hook massacre, that none of it happened. There have been top school safety experts that have come out and said that it's a cover-up. There have been major anomalies like Anderson Cooper using blue screen when he's not really at Sandy Hook, and we've seen CNN claiming that they were in Riyadh under Scud attack when they weren't. Remember, that's famous.
Oh, my God.
I just said it should be investigated. Clearly, the whole story doesn't add up. Some people say it's all child actors. Some people say all this.
Some people say.
That's not what I'm saying. No. There was a drill that day. A lot of weird stuff went on. So that's what I'm getting at here. Shut the hell up.
Seriously, Alex, you were doing fine when you were reading her words, and then the second you started speaking off her script, you sounded exactly like what she said you sound like? That is just mind-blowing, isn't it? Let me just, here's what Hillary said, right? Because he's going to read to you what Hillary said, and then he's going to respond to it by saying she's the liar, and then he says, yes, I said it was a false flag. Yes, I did. And Sandy Hook, well, some do say that it was child actors, and some do. And I don't. But I just want it investigated. I just want it investigated. I mean, he's like so angry that she called him out as being a paranoid right-wing lunatic. And I was waiting to see like what his reaction would be. And his reaction was, I am a right-wing lunatic. I do think it. And, he said everything is a false flag. The shooting in Orlando at the Pulse nightclub is also, in his mind, a false flag. Everything.
The attacks in Orlando were a false flag terror attack.
It's all false flag.
Before the mainstream media takes that out of context, I want to be clear. Our government and the governments of Europe allowed these huge hordes of radical jihadis in, and have even allowed them in without vetting them on record, landing at airports across the country and not even checking their passports, IDs, or visas. Our governments are bringing these people in, and they're allowing them to operate openly in our society so they can attack us and then have our freedoms taken. So radical Islam is real. It's growing like a cancer. They kill each other in their own countries. It is a civil war religion of destabilization and slavery. You can argue what it's been in the past, but it certainly is that today with Saudi Arabia quarterbacking the whole deal. So yes, it's a false flag in that our government let it happen, run by Obama, just like Merkel did in Germany, so they can then say, oh, we've got to pass laws and hate laws banning your speech because you're making the Muslims angry. Or, oh my gosh, we got to pass other hate laws, to deal with right-wingers and stuff. And we need your guns, of course, so you can't protect yourself.
No one said that.
San Bernardino, all these events, the Major Hassan attack, the government knew at the highest levels and tied the hands of the FBI, the military, and others in every case so they couldn't protect us. So that when the attacks happened, they have an excuse to take more of our freedoms. Yes, the globalists are causing a clash of civilizations. Yes, they funded the Arab Spring. I tried to stop that. Now they've done it. Now we're being hit by the tsunami of the Islamic invasion, and we're being told, submit. I'm not going to submit. I'm going to stand up for freedom.
Okay, I hate to tell him that the guy who committed that heinous murder, that mass murder in Orlando at the Pulse nightclub, he was American. He's an American citizen. But everything with him is a false flag. It's like he found these two words that he really loves, false flag. It sounds like important to him. It sounds, terroristic to him. It sounds like government at its worst. It sounds like conspiracy. It sounds like, and he's just everything that happens in the news, every single terrible crime that occurs, and we cover, on the TV. It really isn't happening. It's not happening. It's all a conspiracy by your government to take away your rights. Somehow he'll connect it to that, no matter what the atrocity is. And of course, all crime must be reported racially. All crime must be segmented into Muslim crime, black crime, must be segmented into, a Latino crime, right? Never, ever talk about crime as a one connected issue. Never talk about it as one issue connected to, drugs or prescription drug abuse that then leads to heroin or a methamphetamine lab somewhere in Iowa or somewhere in western Missouri or someplace in southern Ohio or someplace in eastern Tennessee. No, never talk about, that. Let's just talk about it as a racial thing. And this is what Paul LePage did today, too. Paul LePage, the Maine governor, he's the governor of all white Maine, said, this guy who is no stranger to offensive and inflammatory and bigoted remarks, came out with a doozy. He said, he was talking about drug traffickers in Maine, and he said, these aren't people who take drugs. These are guys by the name of D-Money and Smoothie and Shifty. These types of guys, they come from Connecticut and New York. They come up here and they sell their heroin and they go back home. Incidentally, he said, half the time they impregnate a young white girl before they leave, which is really the sad thing, because then we have another issue we have to deal with. Now, the spokesman for LePage said, oh, the governor isn't making comments about race. Race is irrelevant. Impregnating young white girls, he shouldn't have said that. Maybe he'll clarify his remarks. I tried to explain that Maine is essentially all white. So I should have said Maine women. Yeah, that'll do it. I mean, you know, this is a guy who has said he was Donald Trump before Donald Trump was Donald Trump. You know, this is a guy who has compared the IRS to Gestapo and accused a Democratic lawmaker of being the first one to give it to the people without providing Vaseline. Vaseline. What era are you from? Last summer, he screwed up his own veto. He was trying to reject a bill after it had already been enacted into law. He's another one that just doesn't feel constrained by, you know, laws and reality. You know, I mean, these are the people who want to be in control. And when they are, all hell breaks loose. When they are in control of your state, for instance, this is why, you know, one of the things that we were talking about is localism and, you know, all these governors of the states that Donald Trump is, you know, expressing his love for African Americans by describing them as every negative stereotype that you could think of. Can't walk down the street, they'll shoot you. Can't go to school. And school is one of the main things, right? Well, you know, schools are paid for half by the state and half by the locality, property taxes. So if you have a place where people can't live because, let's say, the governor poisoned the population with lead by diverting clean water away from the people and importing dirty water to the people, and then everybody leaves, you have no property value. Therefore, you have no taxes to collect. No one wants to live there anymore. Everything goes to hell for the people who can't get out of there, right? And so one of the things that we should work on and demand is a constitutional amendment in every single state, because this isn't federal stuff. This is every single state. Everyone should demand that all the school money be divided equally for every single school, equally, so that you don't get different results in different places. For instance, in Connecticut, where you have, you know, Tony Darien, or you have fabulous Greenwich, where the houses cost millions and millions and millions of dollars, and then you have other places in Connecticut that don't have, that the property value is worthless. People are trying to hang on to their communities, but they can't, and so their schools get $6,000 less per student than a kid going to school in Greenwich or a kid going to school in Darien. That's what does it to the schools. That's the cause of it. And so every time Donald Trump talks about these mayors, I just wonder where the media is saying to him, but Donald, how do you think schools get funded? Just ask him, because he won't know. Just like he doesn't know what his immigration policy is. Okay, he really doesn't know. His signature issue, the one that he started his campaign with, the divisive issue of immigration, which is net zero right now, okay? Unless you include Cubans. Are Cubans okay with you, Pepe people? How do you feel about Cubans? Pepe, how do you feel about Cubans?
Now,
Pepe!
Alternative as the alt-right. Now,
how do you feel about Cubans? Because Cuban immigration is way up. I know this because I'm in Florida, and of course, Cubans have a different, a different law that applies to them. If the law for Cubans is if you can get here to Florida, you can stay. There's no line. There's no application. There's no ice. There's no, there's
no
not
wet foot, dry foot.
Yes, we have wet foot, dry foot. So what we have is if you can get your wet foot dry on our sand, you can stay. That's wet foot, dry foot. Haitians, on the other hand, who come just from a few miles away from Cuba, no, not for them. But Cubans, yes, Cubans can come into Florida, and they have been for years, and Cuban immigration is way up. In fact, RandiRhodes.com in the homework section, it's so chock full of facts and information that if I should, get drunk tonight and start a Twitter war with the white supremacists, which I am dying to do, Howard does not want me to. He says, who needs this in our lives? Who needs them in our lives? But Paul's dying for me to go for it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, Paul says, go for it, man.
Hashtag drunk tweeting, white supremacists.
Yeah.
Get them.
Hashtag Pepe. I mean, really. I want to do it so bad. I just want to take them on. But with facts, you know. So if you tweeted the homework section to whoever I tweet tonight, they would be inundated. Not that it would inoculate them from their racism, because they don't want to be inoculated from their racism. Their entire identity is being a white supremacist. It is self-identity. Using codes like, 88 for Hitler and HH for Heil Hitler, for Hillary and stuff. I mean, and frogs and amphibians and plague memes and all that. They think they're so clever. It's so childish and bogus and base and ordinary. And there's nothing extraordinary about any of them. In fact, the more that they do this fascist crap, the more people are turned off by, them and Trump. And, they want something done about them. There ought to be a law. So, I kind of want to do it, but the homework section would be a good place to start. Just, ask them if they're okay with Cubans. Just ask them if that's okay. How about Venezuelans who are running and, they're seeking asylum here too because they're starving to death over there. Starving. I wonder if that's okay. I don't know. Trump says he told Anderson last night he's not a racist and nothing ever happened from that, United States versus Fred C. Trump, Donald Trump and Trump management case, except the Justice Department asked for a remedy, and the remedy was that Donald Trump take out ads, expensive ones, in newspapers saying that Trump apartments were available, that they were equal opportunity housing, that you could go live there, that they welcomed you. They laughed in Roy Cohn's face. They made Donald Trump pay for these ads out of his freaking pocket. And nobody confronts him with anything. Nobody asked, when the media tells you they traded accusations, Hillary and Donald, no. Hillary pointed out facts and truths about Donald Trump, Alex Jones, the uber white supremacist right wing. And can we please not give them a PC name? Fascists.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randy, call 561-270-3844.
561-270-3844. Hello, Progressive Voices tune-in listeners. I'm Casey Hobbs.
And I'm Shane Mason, and we're the hosts of Nurse Talk Radio.
Here's what we're talking about this week. What are people in other countries? What do they say about Trump?
They're out of their mind.
I'm with you on this. He is unbearable. Now, God forbid, Maggie, that he should make it all the way. Would you go back to Ireland?
I wouldn't go to Ireland, but I'd go to some other place,
Me too. We better start planning now, because I'm thinking Canada's looking better and better all the time.
Yeah, well, they'd be probably building a wall against us, maybe.
Yeah, they should be building a wall against us, that's for sure.
To look at him like, do you know, his hair reminds me of a cow we had at home, and when she'd give birth to a calf, she'd lick the calf and lick it until it got a kind of, to get the slime off.
Right.
Well, his hair looks like that calf, the slime.
Yes,
slime is on his hair.
So
he got something to lick him, but it wasn't a woman, I'm sure.
Do you mind talking a little bit about the Medicare for All Forum and what other organizations will be working with you, and what is the goal for this?
National Nurses United and Progressive Democrats of America and Healthcare Now are working together, and Bernie got a workshop scheduled. We're going to talk about what is the path forward in this country for Medicare for all. There are some provisions they have committed to work on getting a Medicare opt-in for people 55 and older, which would be a massive improvement for those of us in that age range. We need the support and energy from everybody across the country, helping propel this in a good direction and realizing that if people argue here, that's appropriate. That's what you're supposed to do when you hash out national policy. You're not supposed to put on a performance for the audiences at home. You're supposed to get to the best place for this country, and that's what we're going to try and do.
Check out our show at nursetalksite.com and listen every Saturday and Sunday right here on Progressive Voices.
We did it, you bastards! We're live, and it only took 2 years. Okay. All right. So we're back. We're live, and you're there, and we're here, and ain't that great? Now, let me just tell you that if you want to listen whenever and wherever you'd like to listen, just go to randyrhodes.com, click on podcasts and swag, and get your podcast commercial-free, on demand, on any device. randyrhodes.com. Open all day, every day.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
And there certainly can be a softening because we're not looking to hurt people. We want people. We have some great people in this country. We have some great people in this country. So, but we're going to follow the laws of this country. And
Any
you know, we have what people don't realize. What people don't realize, we have very, very strong laws.
Hey, Pepe, your guy just flip-flopped on you. He reversed himself. He's going to do exactly what Obama does. He's going to follow the Obama laws. He's going to follow the Rubio immigration plan. He's going to follow the Jeb Bush immigration plan. He's going to do what everybody said that he said he would not do. Your guy just flip-flopped on you, white supremacist. He doesn't have you back, man. He doesn't have you back. He's not a good friend, Pepe.
Are you embracing the alt-right movement?
I don't even know.
Nope.
Will you be deported?
We're going to see what happens once we strengthen up our border. We're going to have a strong border, as strong as any border there is anywhere in the world. We're going to have a real wall. We're going to have tremendous protection, both technological protection and everything else. And then we're going to see what happens. But there is a very good chance the answer could be yes, we're going to see what happens. Before I do anything, I want to get rid of the bad ones, and there are a lot of them. I want to get rid of all of the bad ones, and we're going to do that. That'll be the single first order I sign. We're going to stop. Right now I'm in New Hampshire. You saw the crowd. You saw the enthusiasm. I won the primary in New Hampshire. The people of New Hampshire asked me one favor. Please, Mr. Trump, stop the drugs from coming across the southern border.
Now it's about drugs.
You have heroin that's pouring across the southern border and destroying the youth and other people in New Hampshire and every other state. We're going to stop all drug traffic. It's not going to happen anymore. We're going to stop it. We're going to have a strong border. We're going to have a tremendous wall. We're going to have a wall that Mexico pays for, which will be very easy because they are making a fortune with us. The wall is peanuts compared to the money that they make. We are going to have a border again. We are not going to allow drugs to come into this country and poison our youth. And then we're going to see what happens. But there's no legalization, there's no amnesty, and if somebody wants to go legalization route, what they'll do is they'll go, leave the country, hopefully come back in, and then we can talk.
This man is deranged. His signature policy of immigration, the thing he started his divisive racist campaign with, everybody's got to go, we'll keep the families together because they're all going to go, is now, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Now, all of a sudden, it's not about your job. It's not about Mexico and the companies moving to Mexico and taking away, the white people's jobs. It's not about, this thing that white people really will mow the grass and that all the Mexicans have. No, now it's we'll see. We'll see. We're going to wait and see. He reversed his reversal, and he actually told Anderson he thinks that that's not softening, that's hardening. So he's softening, he's hardening. He's softening, he's hardening. He's softening. Oh, my God. What is he on, black market Viagra? What is wrong with this man? Counterfeit Cialis, I think somebody wrote for him. Softening, hardening, softening, hard. Really, really sick. Really, really sad. So Donald Trump does not know what his policy is. That's the problem. His signature issue, immigration. He has no idea what it is. He even told Anderson he didn't, Anderson said, what are you going to do with the 11 million people? He said, we don't know how many are here. We don't know. Yeah, we kind of do. We kind of do. We don't know how many are here. Could be 11 million, could be 5, he said. Could be 5. This man is deranged. He's delusional. He's a liar. He either doesn't want to understand or can't understand his signature issue. The most disgusting thing that took place this week, I swear to God, was this let's make a deal, what's behind door number 1 or door number 2 Hannity game show on, hey, you people tell me what I should say about immigration. You tell me what I should do.
Okay, you're not a criminal alien. You committed no crimes, but you didn't respect our laws and sovereignty. You also seem to be indicating there might be something other than they have to go back.
Look,
am I reading that right?
We have to follow the laws of our country. We have to
go back.
We have to follow the laws. Now, can we be, and I'll ask the audience, you have somebody who's terrific, who's been here
20 years.
Right, long time. Long court proceeding, long everything, okay? In other words, to get them out. Can we go through a process, or do you think they have to get out? Tell me. I mean, I don't know. You tell me.
Tell me. You know, I don't know. He doesn't know. He hasn't got a clue. He's scattered. He's all over the place. He doesn't understand his own issue. The Trump team has no idea what they're doing. They have no clue. He has no clue. I mean, you know, I think the rest of the campaign, what do we have, 78 days? I think the rest of the 78 days are going to be spent trying to figure out, you know, what Donald Trump's immigration policy is. Is it mass expulsions and deportation forces? Is it everybody's got to eat a taco salad at 12 o'clock? I don't know. I have no idea what it is. All we know is he's going to expel the bad people, and I guess Latina models can stay. I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure. The girls who appear on the telenovelas, they're fine. They can stay. They're stunning. They're gorgeous. And we'll put them in the Miss Universe pageant. I don't know. Apparently, Trump's new immigration policy is Obama's awesome after all. He actually told that to Anderson. He said, you know, you don't talk about the deportations that Obama's done, but Obama's done so many deportations. Yeah, he has. He has, and he's taken a lot of heat for it from, the left wing of the party, because these were people fleeing murderous places like Honduras and Salvador, where, you know, you have drug gangs that are just, the drug gangs, by the way, were the ex-military. It's just like in Iraq, you know, it's the same thing. The ex-military became the cartels. So I have no idea what his policy is. I really don't know. Maybe we all have to go to Trump Tower every single afternoon and have a taco bowl with him. I'm not sure. And I guess his policy on African Americans and, what he will do for that community has something to do with the fact that he eats buckets of chicken on the plane. Oh, he's so fat. How could this guy call people fat and disgusting? I'm really not sure what he sees when he looks in the mirror. I'm really not sure. Oh, maybe it's Pepe. Brother David.
Pepe Le Pew, maybe.
Yeah.
Sister, he has no policy.
And we're going to spend the next 2 months trying to figure out like what the hell he would do.
Exactly. Hi, chat room. I'll be back as soon as I'm done with the goddess. Please play nice. You've all been great. Thank you. Okay, done with that. No, that's exactly what we're going to do. And here's one thing I've noticed. Since HRC has been calling him out, her tone has softened. And she's coming off much more direct and much less guarded. And I don't know how else to explain it, but I like listening to her. And that's always been a problem for me before. I guess that's what we're going to have to do, keep dancing ahead of him. It's mind-boggling. My mind boggles. This transcends it can't happen here. It's Twilight Zone time.
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is. It's really Twilight Zone time. It's another world. It's through the looking glass. It's up as down, black as white. It's crazy. And I think what you picked up in her yesterday, I said I did too. Is she's really concerned. You can hear the concern. You can hear how she's just appalled by what's going on here. But the only beef I had was she should not call them a PC name. Okay?
No, I agree. I couldn't agree with you more.
These people who are so against political correctness are being very politically correct when they hide behind a little amphibian gay frog named Pepe, and when they call themselves alt-right, which, really control alt-delete yourselves. To control alt-delete your entire lives because they are being spent in the service of Satan. hate is not a family value. But this guy is a make America hate again guy, which is what Hillary said yesterday, and it was about damn time. And then the media, though, that's what really riles me. The media sits there and they say, oh, so all they did was exchange insults. Really? You can't see that his entire campaign, his entire last year and a half on the stump and in public has been steeped in hatred, fear, and loathing of Muslims, Latinos, African Americans, and Jews? You can't see that also correlates to the virulent right wing that tweets their ass off, that has radio shows all across this freaking country and has for years? You can't see that. You think it was just trading barbs. What she did was she called out a man's friends. That's his campaign staff and his campaign manager. That's his entire campaign. His friends. I will say this, though. You can tell a man by the friends he keeps. You really can. And if Bannon, who, by the way, apparently was sued for spousal abuse in 1996. His wife's taken it back. She didn't show up at court because she said she was intimidated by the lawyer, which sounds oh so familiar. But they say, oh, we're best friends now. Phew, dodged a bullet.
Clear for takeoff. The Randi Rhodes Air Force. Air Force. RandiRhodes.com.
I am super sexually satisfied. I'm genuinely 100% more satisfied with my sex life than I was before Randi Rhodes came back on the air. Hi, I'm the Howard, and yes, it's true. I'm actually 100% more sexually satisfied than I was just one day ago. And I didn't grow a mustache. I didn't get an awesome new tattoo, and I didn't join a CrossFit gym either. I just bought a Randi Rhodes Air Force t-shirt. And when I did, I told Randy, well, there, I've done my part. How do I look at my awesome new Randi Rhodes Air Force 100% super soft cotton tee? And Randy said, that's it? That's all you did to support this unfreaking, unbelievably hard effort? Okay, Howard, go fuck yourself. So I did. And I have to tell you, I still got it. Get your super soft Randi Rhodes t-shirt at RandiRhodes.com. Just click on podcasts and swag and order yours today. You'll feel a lot better after you tell Randy.
With Workers Independent News in depth, I'm Joanne Powers. On Monday, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in San Francisco ruled that companies cannot force workers to abide by agreements, requiring them to use private arbitration and give up their right to file a class action lawsuit over workplace issues. Seth Goldstein, senior business rep at Office and Professional Employees International Union, Local 153 in New York, has been involved in several cases involving such agreements.
It's overwhelming. It's a seminal decision. The mandatory arbitration issue is really the yellow dart contract of the 21st century. It's really freezing employees out of the legal system and saying that the courts are only for big corporations.
Tara Zoomer was fired from office-sharing company WeWork for refusing to sign an arbitration agreement that would have waived not only class action claims, but also the right to trial by jury.
I didn't have a choice. I was told that my continued employment would count as consent to the new agreement. I didn't realize that companies had the power to take away the rights of citizens, and that is a power that they should never have. I had my job taken away from me for refusing to sign. To have it part of a basic employment contract, to force people into a private system that is unregulated is pretty terrifying.
Zoomer says companies have been increasingly using these arbitration agreements over the last decade.
For probably the last 10 years or so, companies have been including these types of clauses in contracts. Honestly, I'm hoping one day that the Supreme Court will rule that it's absolutely illegal for a company to prevent employees from collective action, which is really what arbitration agreements do. They make it much cheaper and easier for a company to fight individuals one at a time instead of as a group. Really, the only person it's more cost-effective and easy to are the companies that are utilizing this system. We really need the government and our judicial system to start supporting its citizens rather than companies in this matter.
Monday's ruling is already influencing other cases currently underway, including the WeWork case. Thursday, the NLRB has found merit to several charges and is now issuing a complaint against TriNet Inc., a co-employer that administers WeWork's benefits. Goldstein sees a change in the legal landscape for these agreements following the February death of Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia.
At least initially, some of the circuit courts were invalidating the board's position, saying that a class action was not a substantive right, but basically a civil procedure process. And that comes down from a series of decisions with Judge Scalia. The courts have now been going the other way. The Ninth Circuit decision now undercuts completely WeWork's position on this. We believe that this decision will be before the Supreme Court sometime next year.
Workers Independent News is brought to you with support from union-owned and represented Bank of Labor, member FDIC, equal opportunity lender. Bank of Labor has earned the reputation as a leader in union business lending by understanding the needs of labor unions. Online at bankoflabor.com.
You've been listening to WIN, Workers Independent News. For more information, visit laborradio.org.
On the eve of the most important election of our time, bring your friends to an unprecedented event. The Sexy Liberal Tour goes coast to coast.
Give it up for yourselves, sexy liberals. God bless you. I wanna be elected.
Monday, November 7th, just one night.
We've got to protect our phony baloney job, gentlemen.
The Sexy Liberal Comedy Tour comes to your town. It's a special Get Out the Vote rally with a new original show in theaters nationwide on the eve of the election.
What would you like to see a new government bring in? More wine.
You've told your friends about it. Now show them what Sexy Liberal is all about. Stephanie Miller, John Fugelsang, and comedy duo Frangela are eager to make you laugh and get out the vote. The Sexy Liberal Show and Fathom Events make it possible for the #1 political comedy tour to come to your city with this one-of-a-kind event at select cinemas nationwide. Monday, Election Eve, November 7th. For more information and tickets, visit fathomevents.com.
If there's still a world left when this is all over, I'd like to buy you a beer.
But you're a pisser.
I'm hyperventilating.
Mary, how does the
default? We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America. From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Okay.
Turn up your mind.
Hey y'all, Trey Crowder here, New York Daily News, and I got to get something off my chest, man. I've been trying to hold it in, be professional about it and everything, but I can't no more, and I got to be honest, you guys. I am not particularly fond of Donald Trump. There, I said it. Nah, hell, y'all know I hate that sumbitch like Bill Clinton hates not fucking. Can't stand him, don't care who knows it. It blows my mind, not only that people support him, but that they continue to do so no matter what he says or does. This week, he went after the family of a dead U.S. soldier. Word? It's like his campaign is actively trying to see where the line is. All right, look, guys, the soldier's family, it wasn't enough. All right, we got to go bigger. All right, we got to think about who can we insult next. All right, I want to think outside the box here, okay? Let me hear it. I want to hear puppies who've been chemically blinded. I want to hear homosexual legless orphans. All right, we got to think big, guys. It's incredible, and it all stems from Trump's inability to take criticism from literally any source. When the soldier's family, the Khans, criticized him at the DNC and said, among other things, that he had never sacrificed anything, he responded with, "Of course I have. I'm a businessman. I've sacrificed plenty. I've created thousands of jobs." What does that even have to do? That's like telling a woman who's had a double mastectomy that you feel her pain because you almost bought into the Hooters franchise once. At best, it's tangentially related, and also you're a tone-deaf piece of shit. And speaking of insulting women, I guess Trump's misogyny tank was running a little low because later in the week, when asked what he would want his daughter Ivanka to do if she was subject to sexual harassment like the Fox News women have been, he said, well, she should just get a new job. And then one of his sons, either Huey or Dewey McFuckface, I can't remember, doubled down and said that Ivanka was too strong of a woman to allow herself to be subjected to such harassment. Oh, right. Unlike all those weak-willed and frail-minded women out there who've been the victims of sexual harassment before, those chicks really need to grow a pair. Am I right, fellas? Look, y'all. A man who so consistently requires that such fundamental concepts of human decency be explained to him as you would to a child is demonstrably unfit to lead. What else needs to be said? Oh, I almost forgot. He also went on record this week as saying that Putin would never dare to invade the Ukraine. So, do we tell him or...
Trey Crowder! Trey Crowder! Trey's going to call into the show in a little while. He's on tour somewhere. Maybe he'll come by in October and grace us with his amazing presence because he is on tour. You can buy tickets to see him at the Well-Read, R-E-D. I think it's wellread.com, which is the tour page for Trey Crowder, liberal redneck. And I fall in love with this guy. So we'll talk to him in a little while and see what's going on with him. And what does he make of Donald Trump's immigration plan and Pepe? I'm sure he knows all about it. All right, let's try Philip in Colton, Oregon. Hi.
Hi.
Hey.
Everybody talks about percentages. You take percentage of white people in America, we just say 85% or something like that. Black people is 13 some percent. And you guys, that's 220-some million white people and only about 40-some million black people. So the percentages, when they say the percentage of this and that, you have to really consider the percentage of people in those groups.
Yeah, but even his percentages are wrong. Okay, Donald Trump keeps saying that 58% of African American youth are unemployed. The true number is 26%, and when he talks about youth, he's talking about high school kids. So a quarter of African American high school kids don't have after school jobs is basically what is the truth. What he's saying is 58% of African American youth, implying that there's this great issue in the United States of black unemployment. Black unemployment is higher than white unemployment is, and that's because their cities have been poisoned. It's because their schools have been unequally funded. It's because their communities are over-policed. It's because if a white kid was walking down the street smoking a joint, nothing would happen, as we all know. But if a black kid is walking down the street smoking a joint, he gets a mandatory minimum sentence. So, let's actually look at what the numbers he's saying are. Are they true? Answer no. Look at the real.
No, I know that.
Right. Then look at the real numbers and say, well, why are they higher? And then understand the reasons for it that underlie problems that the black community has, like Governor Ricky Snyder of Michigan, for instance, who allowed an entire city to be poisoned by lead, or communities in California that allow entire cities to be poisoned by pesticides in their water. I mean, this is the white supremacists' little MO. Over incarceration of African American. Oh, and by the way, here's what they're going to come at you with. They're going to come at you with, because I've already been to Breitbart today, and once you get past some of their headlines, which are just hysterical, I mean, they're so bizarre. It makes the world news. I remember when I was growing up, there was like this newspaper called the World News, and my mother wouldn't let me read it, and it typically had on there the baby. Do you remember the baby? It was the baby that had some sort of a rare disease that caused the baby to be born old, and then the baby would grow younger as the baby grew in age. The baby would be born, and the baby was born like a 100-year-old man, and then as the baby grew, the baby would get younger and younger, so that when the baby was 100 years old, the baby would be an infant. These kinds of stories my mother felt were very upsetting and mind poisoning, and she would not let me read those. And they were on the newsstands just right next to normal newspapers, the Daily News, the New York Times, and she'd shield my eyes, my little virgin eyes, from reading that particular. Well, this is what Breitbart is like. It's like that newspaper. I mean, his headlines, political correctness protects Muslim rape culture. What are you talking about? What is he talking about? If there is a rape culture in Muslim countries, they're sovereign nations. What is our policy have to do with any of? Suck it up, buttercups. I apologize for using this word. I really do, because I promised years and years ago I would never use it. But this is what he wrote. Suck it up, buttercups. Dangerous faggot tour returns to colleges in September. Pepe, chill. The solution online harassment is simple. Women should log off. Ooh, that's going right to the heart of these white ring, I can't even say it, fascist girls with their tattoos all over their bodies. 88HH. He doesn't like you either. 2 months left until Obama gives dictators control of internet. There's no hiring bias against women in tech. They just suck at interviews. Trannies whine about hilarious Bruce Jenner billboard. Khazir Khan believes the Constitution must always be subordinated to the Sharia. Khazir Khan actually said there was no such thing as Sharia law in the United States because the Constitution reigns supreme and that it was a figment of Breitbart's imagination and other people like him. But, that doesn't do anything. They just breathe and taunt online is what they do. However, this is Donald Trump's, these are his peeps. Tom in Santa Cruz.
Hi, Randy.
Hey.
I had a thought I wanted to share about this new term that they're throwing about called alt-right.
You mean Nazis?
Yeah, well, basically, because the word alt in German means old. So I'm wondering, are they actually talking about going back to the quote-unquote old right?
Yeah, they're fascist.
Right.
They are fascist.
Yeah,
and you know what fascism is. It's uber nationalism and a disdain of others that is government imposed. And this is where they're at. And this is what they want. And they'll sing songs about free speech and, blah, blah, blah. And we want our freedom. But they want a dictator who will impose a white supremacist code that says that every other needs to go, be locked up, removed, put in ghettos, jailed, if you ask some people in this country of color, they will say they're halfway there.
Right. And let's not forget the merger of corporate and state interests that they're so keen on, too.
Yeah. Oh, they love that that having a businessman in charge of the Constitution.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Thanks, Randy.
Is that it? Oh, okay. So alt means old. Listen, it's very PC. It's very PC. And nothing does it for me like the old fascist Nazi ideology, terms. Don't soften up what they're about. Don't make them, don't even allow them to be politically correct. And, they've decided to be politically correct. They've bandied about some names before because white supremacy, it's just it's too white. And it's too bigoted. So I think, who was it? Joy Reid? She had a good explanation of it.
Donald Trump, there have been several studies that have shown how many times he's retweeted neo-Nazis on social media, more than anyone else. And the only other person that's come even close is one of his two children. They tend to retweet items from neo-Nazi followers on social media. That's one thing. And then Bannon himself, who has embraced the alt-right. He said he wanted to make Breitbart.com the home of the alt-right. And remember, even before he got there, Breitbart made its name going after Shirley Sherrod, going after Acorn, trying to promote this idea of reverse racism, so it was a natural place for the alt-right to gravitate to.
Stop calling them the alt-right, the fascists to gravitate to, the white supremacists to gravitate to. This is the O'Keefe model of the Breitbart. And it's so interesting that the people who quit Breitbart when Bannon came in, they said, Andrew Breitbart was such a sweet guy and he would never allow even a tinge of racism in any of our stories. Meanwhile, that is where the O'Keefe going undercover and editing video in Acorn, which was, supposed to do community outreach and voter registration for, poorer neighborhoods, African-American especially neighborhoods. And Shirley Sherrod was telling them a story about how she was brought up thinking, white people were one thing, and then she evolved and became a woman and got out into the world and learned that they were the sweetest, nicest, kindest people, and she helped them save their farm, this white couple. Well, he edited it and he tried to make her into the racist so that See, with them, everything is white grievance. With them, everything is, they're scared of losing their supremacy. They're scared of, losing their white privilege. They're terrified because what would they do if the justice system didn't treat them differently than it treats black people? My God, look how many people are in jail that are black for doing the same crap that every white person in Appalachia did today, will do tomorrow, and did on Wednesday. It's just their sense that white identity is under attack. And that's fascist ideology. This is why they call people like me libtards. Because they don't think that I understand that they are shaken in their shoes and they're a bunch of pansies scared to death of the people around them. Or the people they think are going to be around them. Because most of them don't know anybody other than each other. But their online activities, man, oh man. And the girls that are part of it really freak me out because they hate women. These fascist people, they just despise them. They have such disdain for them. It's such a total masculine ideology that has no place for women except, as subservient human beings. And then you're going to talk to me about rape culture? Really? Any woman who's associated with this fascist movement or with this white supremacy movement or with this Nazi movement, any woman that participates in it and she feels emboldened or sexy because of it, you are making the biggest mistake of your life. You are about to be put in a burqa. You are about to be under somebody's thumb and told when and where and what you can do.
Donald Trump, there have been several studies. Well, essentially, Tamara, the alt-right consider themselves an alternative to traditional conservatism, which they think is weak tea. Their basic belief is that white Americans need to protect themselves against multiculturalism and immigration, which they believe are essentially watering down American culture and putting white people at a disadvantage. It's interesting that the term bigot was actually written into Donald Trump's speech. It wasn't an ad lib. And that is actually a signal from the alt-right because they do believe that the real quote-unquote racism is racism against white Americans. So they're mostly young, they're very tech savvy, they've been connected to things like Gamergate, going after women, going after people of color. What you're seeing happen to Leslie Jones, that's a prime example.
So what's the difference in, I guess, the alt-right and white nationalists, white supremacists,
Yeah,
KKK?
what is the difference,
Are these
Joy?
all the same people, just with a different name here?
Well, just as David Duke took the KKK and dressed it up in a suit and tie, the alt-right is also white nationalism, but they differentiate themselves in their own minds, saying, well, they are pro-white, and that they claim that that is not racism. So they are basically the next generation of what are traditionally the neo-Nazi movements, the KKK. They essentially are saying that they are a pro-white movement that wants to make America more masculine. They feel America has become too feminized. They're against interventions in foreign wars, and they peg neoconservatism as sort of a Jewish intervention in conservatism.
Oh
so they're
my
essentially,
God.
They are the same thing.
They are the same thing. So let's call them the same thing. I mean, this whole new name is it's such a disservice to the virulent qualities that they exude all over the internets as they sit behind their computers in their mother's basements or in their cinder block homes in Appalachia. I mean, it's a ridiculous thing to try and rebrand fascism, Nazism, white supremacists as something cute and fuzzy like a gay frog named Pepe.
Short for alternative as the alt-right. Now,
well, you need to isolate a Pepe. Is what you need to do. Yeah, I mean, it's bullshit. It really, truly is. It's complete and utter bull that they are any different from Nazi stormtroopers, or they're any different from any other white supremacist, from any Ku Klux Klan member, from any Nazi ideology that's come before them. They are just the next generation of stupid. But, they'll praise democracy. But they don't know what it is.
All things Randy at RandyRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, The Randi Rhodes Show.
I'm David Pakman, host of The David Pakman Show on the Progressive Voices channel. Check out this clip from my show. A really big deal was made by Trump supporters, including the queen of the birther movement, Orly Tates, a few days ago, that finally at least one poll showed that Donald Trump was ahead of Hillary Clinton. I looked into that poll. It's the LA Times USC tracking poll, which just happens to be a poll that tracks about 3,000 eligible voters daily, asking them who they support and how likely they are to vote. It is the only poll that for 2 days showed Trump ahead from like the last 3 weeks. And even that poll has already turned to saying that Hillary Clinton is ahead. Birther Queen Orly Tates has stopped emailing me since that number has changed. Here's the big picture right now. In two-way polls, and we will start by showing you these. In two-way polls, Hillary Clinton is leading Donald Trump in 25 of the last 25 polls. Now, let me do some math. 25 divided by 25. 2 divided by 2 is 1. Carry 0. That's 100% of recent polls. In 100% of the last 25 polls, as you can see here, Hillary Clinton is ahead of Donald Trump. Now, some people will hear me say this. They will say, David, you're not including Libertarian Gary Johnson or Green Party candidate Jill Stein in the polling, and you should, and I will. That is an understandable and reasonable concern. If we look at recent four-way polling, Hillary Clinton is leading 23 of the most recent 23 polls. Number 24, in terms of reverse chronological order, has her tied. Yes, Hillary Clinton's average lead is slightly lower when Jill Stein and Gary Johnson are included, 4.3% in the four-way polls, 5.9% in the two-way polls, but it is still remaining a very one-sided race. Nate Silver's 538.com assesses the probability that one or another candidate will win. Here is how he currently has it. 85% chance that Hillary Clinton will win this election, 15% chance that Donald Trump will win this election. Look at the bottom of this image if you're looking with me. Statistically speaking, estimating Hillary Clinton's electoral vote total around 354 and Trump's in the 180s, which would be, needless to say, an embarrassing and historic defeat. Popular vote estimating somewhere in the range of 48 to 41 in favor of Hillary Clinton. And lastly, electoral-vote.com updates a map based on state-by-state polling every day. That estimates 343 delegates for Hillary Clinton, 195 for Donald Trump. Very similar numbers, Lewis, between the electoral-vote.com analysis and the 538.com analysis. We are starting to run out of time. This is something where if the numbers don't change soon, and I don't know if a major bombshell about Hillary Clinton would change numbers. I don't know if some kind of national security or terrorism crisis would hurt Hillary Clinton. We've said because of the particularly rash and harebrained nature of Donald Trump, and because of the more neoconservative foreign policy ideas of Hillary Clinton, the standard paradigm where terrorist attacks close to an election help the Republican may not actually hold true in this particular election. If something doesn't change soon, Hillary Clinton is going to win by a lot on November 8th.
Mm-hmm. Right now, the Republican counter to this is that these polls just aren't accurate. And so you're right. What possible, massive, groundbreaking, catastrophic thing could happen to Hillary Clinton?
Yep. You've been listening to part of the David Pakman Show on the Progressive Voices channel. For full audio and video podcasts, interviews, and more, go to davidpakman.com and check out our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The David Pakman Show.
The Randi Rhodes Air Force. The Randi Rhodes Show is live on RandiRhodes.com and the free Progressive Voices app for Android and iOS. Visit the App Store or ProgressiveVoices.com now.
Hey, the internet. It's me, Trae, back on the porch. I know it's been a minute, but damn, I just been busier than Donald Trump at a fuck shit up conference, so I apologize. I wanted to come out here because a lot of people have asked me what I think about Black Lives Matter. Well, put simply, I think that they do. Goddamn. And further, I think that responding to that sentiment with all lives matter would be sort of like telling Susan G. Komen to chill it with all the pink shit on account of all cancer sucks. That last part's true, but it ain't really the fucking point. But a lot of other people have talked about those things a lot better than I can. I want to do what I do and address my people for a minute. Because, see, this has been framed largely as being Black Lives Matter versus the police. And from what I've seen, rednecks have pretty unanimously been against Black Lives Matter, which is pretty funny to me. Rednecks, help me out here. When did we start liking cops? I must have missed the memo on that one, boys. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, rednecks and the police are natural enemies and pretty much always have been. You ever seen the show Cops? About every other episode takes place in a damn trailer park. And if that ain't enough for you, the single most popular redneck TV show of all time is literally just about two cousin fucking good old boys running from the law in a sweet-ass orange car. You ever see Smokey and the Bandit? The hero ain't fucking Smokey. It's sort of a whole thing with us. I've been surrounded by rednecks my whole life. I have never once seen them react positively to a sudden police presence. Though, to be fair, it's sort of hard to stay positive when you think your midget mud wrestling tournament's about to get shut down. Dirty little titties, skew! See, that's the thing. Cops do fuck with rednecks. Always have, probably always will, but we're usually up to some pretty redneck shit. Goddamn, man, what's this country coming to? When a man can't even put a stick of dynamite inside a washing machine with Obama's face painted on the side of it without some pussy calling the law. See, cops and rednecks have a strained relationship because cops typically stand in the way of our shenanigans. But imagine for a second that instead of busting us for trying to sell our food stamps for weed money, they were busting our heads open for resisting arrest. One of our favorite pastimes, by the way. Or they were murdering rednecks in front of kids because we had a gun in the truck, which we always do. What would we say then? What would the NRA say then? Because rednecks love guns, and if you ask them why, one of the most common answers would be because they need them in the event of oppression from a tyrannical government. But when a group of people who deals with that kind of oppression on a day-to-day basis carries firearms and pays with their lives for it, we're nowhere to be found. Not advocating violence against police officers, the assholes who did that are deeply disturbed outliers who don't represent the movement. My point is, I would have hoped that rednecks of all people could have empathized with this whole thing. But we don't. And I wonder why. Just kidding. I don't wonder. Nobody does. Because everybody knows the reason. And that's sort of the whole problem. I'll see y'all next time.
Trey Crowder, everybody! Trey Crowder! All right, sir, explain yourself. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Explain
Thanks
yourself.
for having me.
Oh, you're welcome.
Explain myself.
I'm a big, huge fan. I got to say before I put you on the spot. This is Trey Crowder, everybody, and you are on tour. And if you want to get tickets, and I will be at least at one of your shows because I'm in between Fort Lauderdale and West Palm, and both shows are at the Improvs here. So if you want to get tickets, he might be in your neighborhood. Just go to Wellred, R-E-D, wellred.com, and you can purchase tickets right there for Trey Crowder. So go ahead, explain yourself.
Yeah, so I guess you're one of these people that I grew up with that's praying for me. Is that right?
That's right, son.
You expect me? yeah. Need me to explain myself. This guy, going against everything I grew up with. What's going on with this guy?
Well, what I mean
I don't
by
know.
this,
I've always been that guy.
I know, and what I mean by this is because I am a progressive, I am a liberal, and it would be easier for me, and I assume it would be easier for you if you were a regular redneck conservative rather than a liberal progressive. It's what we have done to ourselves is like masochism. It's one of the hardest things to do.
Yeah, well, you're 100% right about that, and I've always felt the same way about just being dumb in general. Like it'd be so much easier, you know what I mean? Because like everything you just got you got what you like, and that's all that matters, and everything else.
I have said that a million times. It would just be so much easier if I was just a dumb blonde. I mean, it would just be, life would be just great. I would take an Oxy in the morning, wash it down with a beer, call it a day. Wake up in the morning, there's like bloody handprints on my wall. I wouldn't even know how they got there. It'd be all right.
Yeah, the world would be your oyster, but I don't know. I can't help it.
You can't.
Know what I mean? That's what, like I said, I mean, you're right. It would be easier, but I don't know what to do about it, because I just ended up this way, one way or another. I guess God does make mistakes. I don't know. Cause
now, where do you live?
It's just who I am.
Where do you live?
Where do I live? Currently, I live in Knoxville, Tennessee, that's where I started doing comedy, and that's where I'm out of or whatever. I grew up in a real small town in the middle of nowhere in Tennessee, but I've lived in Knoxville and done comedy there for about 6 years.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at right now. Well, that's where I live. I'm in Indiana on the tour, which is, if people don't know, Indiana's like the south of the north. So, I mean, I feel right at home, but...
Well, give a shout out to Mike Pence tonight, and you'll get some applause. That's for sure.
We do a Q&A at the end of our shows, and people up here have been asking us what we think about Mike Pence. And obviously we're not huge fans, but that's been going pretty well because our crowds are cool.
Yeah, it is interesting.
He's definitely a big thing up here.
It's interesting. I think comedy is a really good vehicle. I think it's one of those things that makes people feel so good that they feel bad. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm not sure you're a redneck. I'm not convinced. All right. How much is a case of Pepsi worth on draw day?
How much is a case of Pepsi worth on draw day? 50 cents on the dollar, typically. And it ain't got to be Pepsi. You could, you got somebody like steaks.
All right.
Like steaks or whatever else. You use your food stamps on the steaks or the Pepsi or whatever. Then you go and sell it for 50 cents on the dollar for cash money, which you can then turn around and, buy weed or pills with. And so, that's how you use your food stamp card. Yeah.
Red Stripe is beer or bologna?
Red Stripe. Yeah, the bologna I used to always mess with was called the Big Chub. But it's got
I remember the Big Chub.
The Big Chub is that's my personal preference when it comes to bologna. It's the Big Chub. But I do like, I like the red shit too. And yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Pat.
Yeah, don't test me on the poverty, the trailer park stuff or whatever, because I promise you, head to toe legit as far as that goes. My mama sold pills my whole life, so
did she?
I know.
Is that your background?
Yeah, she did.
Wow.
Yeah, that's true. Pillbilly. I come from pillbilly stock.
Why don't you tell me about?
True.
Tell me. I haven't lived in Appalachia in a really stinking long time. I used to live in Portsmouth, Ohio, big city Chillicothe.
I've been to Chillicothe and Portsmouth, actually. Believe it or not, I've been to both of them. Piketon, it's right there in the middle.
Yep.
Right. I've been there. There's a train runs through there at like 4 a.m. and wakes you up in your hotel room, and it's super annoying. That's
what hotel room? What hotel room?
There's some random Quality Inn on the side of the railroad in Piketon somewhere.
It's on Front Street.
Yeah, right. The only street.
Yeah, Front Street is the only street. It's the one that runs across the Ohio River where the barges used to provide the business, and now it's pillbillying. But people don't believe me when I tell them about what life is like there, and they don't believe about the pillbillies, and they don't believe that you could be raised by a woman who, put clothes on your back by selling the damn pills.
Yeah, I talk about it on stage, in my stand-up act, and all the time I'll talk to people after a show or just off stage, and it becomes apparent to me that they were like, oh, you were serious, they 100% think it's just like part of the act or just a joke or whatever else. But I mean, no, it's real. My mom did that. My mom's been to jail and stuff multiple times for it. Like I grew up surrounded by that whole thing. It's very, very, very real. And you're right. Some people don't. I don't know if they just can't. It's so far removed from their life experience or whatever. But a lot of people just assume it's not a real thing. But it very much so is.
No, I know it really is, and I also know you love the military, and I know that you have ranted against Trump's taking over of this issue of veterans, and I am a veteran, just so you know, and it really does disgust me how he and they do this all the time. People who've never served love to tell us how we're being abused by the Democrats and the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Who, listen, Bernie Sanders made sure that $18 billion went into the VA, but you'll never hear a word about that on the campaign trail or anything like that. But then here you have Trump saying that, John McCain, he didn't do it right because he got caught. And I don't like people that get caught. I like people that don't get caught. And they did the same damn thing to John Kerry because, John Kerry said this was an unwinnable war. We should, not sacrifice one more man because how do you want me to tell this one more man that he's the last man to die? And so they swift-boated him, the right wing did. But now all of a sudden they're all about the vets. I don't get how they do this. It's like a magic trick.
I think where the way they spin it is like a lot of times, like Democrats, left wingers, they're, anti these wars because these wars are ridiculous, but they paint that as like they're anti-war, which means they're anti-military, which means they're anti the troops, and like that's where that's the angle they take on it, which of course is ridiculous, but I mean that's the spin they put on it, and they're base, just like everything else they say, they just lap it up. It's like, you're right, these godless liberal commies hate our troops and whatever else. And I mean, I grew up, like I said, trailer park kid in the middle of nowhere, Tennessee. A lot of my buddies I grew up with joined the military, and I love the hell out of those guys.
I'm the North.
That's not true at all.
Hey Trey, I'm the Northeast version of that. Okay, I grew up in Brooklyn, and we didn't have jack crap either. And so everybody go, oh, you joined the military because you're so patriotic. Let me tell you, when I came home, my mother knew what time it was. When I said to her, I just joined the Air Force, she said, are you a lesbian or a hua? Because and I said, well, my sister's a lesbian, so I must be the hua. But everyone knows that the reason why you do it is because you have no future, right? And you just hope to God that you can get a little bit of education, a little bit of discipline, and, form a life or some sort of a code that you can live your life by. And they love us, when they send us off to these wars when we're all shiny and clean and, we look really good. And then when we come back just a little bit dusty and dirty, oh my God, then all of a sudden, go live under a bridge somewhere. It makes me sick. It truly does. But
I completely agree. I mean, yes, it's very much in places like where we're from. I mean, it's an escape mechanism. Like, people do it because they just want anything. They got to get out, and you can't blame them. And that's what it's about. And then,
oh man, let me tell you, the girl
super for it.
Yeah, the girls
before they go, like you said, and they come back, and then nobody cares anymore because now it's hard to deal with. Now it's uncomfortable. It's very easy to talk about going and, flying the flag and representing your country and fighting for freedom and all that stuff, but dealing with the repercussions of it makes people uncomfortable, and nobody wants to talk about that, and that's very, very, very unfair, and not okay. Well, and that's a big part of the problem we have.
It's the height of ignorance. I mean, you come back and you got a little shell shock or whatever we're going to call it these days, and all of a sudden, we're less than human. Nobody wants to talk to us, look at us, serve us. Nobody wants to have anything to do with us, and it's pretty damn nauseating. But it's the truth. And I always say, if there's any vet in this audience that believes anything different, my phone lines are always here for you, and they know this. But every veteran I have ever known that has been in combat is anti-war because it's pure hell. So I don't.
Right? Why wouldn't they be?
Why wouldn't they be? Right? Listen, my dad was in World War II and he fought fascism, and now I'm seeing it, have a resurgence here in the United States. I mean, have you seen these news stories about the alt-right? We've given neo-Nazism and white supremacy a nice PC name. Are you in on that?
No, alt. Did you say alt right? Yeah. Like alternative right? Is that's what they're calling themselves now?
That is it. That is what they're calling.
Well, I mean, honestly, they've been trying to rebrand for a while, and I'm talking about the Klan specifically, which they're in that group, and they've been trying to rebrand themselves for a while, which honestly, probably a pretty smart move on their part, since their branding has taken quite the PR hit in recent years. So they're trying to pivot, I guess. But I didn't know they had landed on alt right. But I mean, that checks out. That makes sense to me. That's what they would go with.
Well, you did a rant that was just so classic. I mean, it's one of the things that turned me on to you was the Make America White Again. I mean, and then I started listening to all yours. And my favorite one you've ever done is, do Black Lives Matter? I'd say they do. It was just so simple and beautiful. I mean, your comedy is just, it's so accessible, but it's so full of truth, and that's what makes things funny, I think. So, I just, are you working for the Daily News? Is that what I'm seeing?
I am, yeah. I do weekly videos for the Daily News up there in New York. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, I didn't, I had very tangentially heard of the Daily News or whatever, but didn't know much about them when they reached out to me, because I've never lived in New York and whatever else. Right. But yeah, I do the weekly videos for them, and honestly, it's went really well so far. They've been very easy to work with. They pretty much let me do my own thing.
They
you know
do.
what I mean? They let me do what I want to do, and then they just kind of post it or whatever. So I mean, it's it's cool with me.
I grew up with the Daily News. It was the New York Times, the Daily News. Those were our newspapers, and so to see you working for them really made me smile. I mean, I was just cracking up, going, who is the reader? I mean,
right? Yeah.
It's such an odd fit.
I know, but believe me, I thought the same thing when they first reached out to me or whatever. I was like, "Are y'all you sure about this?"
Yeah. But
I don't. Okay.
You know
sure.
what? But it's like plaid and floral. You know, you don't think it goes together, but then somehow it does. It actually sings. You know, and it is one of the ways that people like me are finding you, and it's not bad. You know, it's pretty good as long as they're paying you, as long as they're doing that.
Yeah. Well, they're treating me pretty well. I think. I mean, again, by my standards, at least, I think it's more than fair. Having grown up in a trailer park, I am.
You're a married guy, and I think you said you were the owner of a couple of children. Is that what you?
I am. Yeah, I'm a baby owner. Yeah, I got me 2 of them. I own a set of 2 boys. They're 3 and 4.
Aww.
And honestly, I try that whole. Of course, it's important to me just as a father, but I mean, as far as my whole thing with the liberal redneck and all that stuff, it's important to me there too, because those people on the other side, the stereotypical rednecks, but also the ultra conservatives, that's one of their main weapons they throw in people's faces is kids all the time.
All the time.
Think about the kids. It's about the kids. I've got kids, and that's why this is important, and that's why you don't understand is because they hang their hats on that, and so that's one thing I try to do, is point out no, man, I've got kids too, like that, and you're still wrong,
Well, have they ever
I've got kids. That's why I'm so scared about Trump being the president of this country, because I have to raise children in this country, and it's terrifying to me.
Well,
so
I mean,
being a parent doesn't mean anything as far as that goes.
What do they think about the kind of language that he uses? I mean, I understand that the bigotry is probably just something that's well received, and yeah,
it don't hurt,
right? It can't hurt you down there. But honest to God, what about the language? I mean, I don't even know if you've ever heard these tapes of him, but I make a hobby out of collecting them and editing them together. But his mouth is so foul. I mean, give me here's 30 seconds of him.
You're not going to raise that fucking price. You understand?
They're ripping the shit out of the sea. I would bomb the shit out of them. And you can tell them to go themselves. Listen, you motherfuckers, we're going to tax you 25%. I'm going to bomb the shit out of them. It's true.
What about the children?
Right, exactly. Well, let me preface this by saying, to be fair, it would be a little hypocritical of me to go after him for having a potty mouth.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, I am. I've gotten a little bit of that myself. So, but
Trae,
that's in line with their whole thing about, he also, he's not super Jesus-y and all this stuff that they've claimed to be super important to them for all these years. But and I don't know, I don't have an explanation, but for whatever reason it is, something about him, with him, they just look past a lot of things like that. And, the cussing is one of them. They just roll with it. And I mean, I don't know why. Maybe it's because he's so powerfully racist and misogynistic that it just over. They're like, yeah, but it's worth it, So they just go with it. I guess I don't know.
You're right. It's worth it. You're right. He's going to purge the country of all brown people. It's worth it. A couple of motherfuckers.
So that makes up for a QFB, right? Yeah, exactly.
Well, listen, I know you're busy, and I will come and see you. I think you're going to be in my area October 12th and 13th, something like that. But I want everybody to go to wellread.com and get tickets and go out and see Trey Crowder, everybody. You're just amazing, and God love you. And just remember, your potty mouth is in a comedy club at night with cocktails.
Right.
It's allowed. It's allowed.
Well, Randy, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And yeah, come out and see us. We'll be down there.
I will.
I want to meet you.
Yeah, I'm going to meet you too.
Okay.
Thanks, Trey.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Have a great show tonight. Yeah, thanks. Okay. Trey Crowder. All right, so here's a trivia question now. Trey Crowder was just now the very first guest on our new show on the internet's only, where we could freely spew, or skew, as he calls it. I spew, he skews. So there's a trivia question. Now, what's really interesting is everybody remembers the first guest on the other show was Ralph Nader, but nobody remembers the second guest. The second guest on that show was Pat Buchanan. That was my protest booking for them making me have Ralph Nader on. But Trey Crowder, I'm very happy that he was our first guest ever. And we don't do guests very often. I don't know if he appreciates that. Oh, damn, I forgot to ask him if he ever hit his wife with a box of Tide. I love that man.
For a commercial-free, on-demand, whenever, wherever listening experience, visit randyrhodes.com for your personal premium podcast today.
You're listening to WIN, Workers Independent News, a production of Diversified Media Enterprises.
For WIN, I'm Joanne Powers. About 250 farm workers from almost every crop and agricultural region of California flooded the state capitol in Sacramento Thursday morning to lobby members of the state assembly to pass legislation that would guarantee them overtime pay. While almost all other U.S. workers are guaranteed overtime pay by the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938, farm workers were specifically exempted. The state Senate approved the legislation Monday. United Farm Workers of America spokesman Mark Grossman.
It was wrong to exclude farm workers in 1938. It is wrong to exclude farm workers today. Farm workers are packing the assembly galleries and the halls of the state capitol. And for them, it's not just the money, although that's certainly important. It's also a basic issue of equity and ending a terrible 78-year injustice.
Following Tuesday's ruling by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, the National Labor Relations Board has found merit to several charges related to office-sharing company WeWork, deciding to issue a complaint against TriNet Incorporated, a co-employer that administers WeWork's benefits. The board found unlawful mandatory arbitration agreements that prohibit workers from class action lawsuits over such topics as wage and hour complaints and discrimination. Seth Goldstein is senior business rep at Office and Professional Employees International Union Local 153 in New York.
This is huge. TriNet administers health benefits for over 13,000 employers nationwide. The board is going to say that TriNet has to discontinue its class action waivers for approximately 325,000 employees. It's a way of employers to control employees because it prohibits them from engaging in collective activity, which is protected under Section 7 of the National Labor Relations Act.
The NLRB is currently considering the unfair labor practices case of approximately 1,200 haulers classified by Menards stores as independent contractors. Independent contractor misclassification results in workers being denied numerous employee rights and benefits. Truck driver Dan Ewald of Minocqua, Wisconsin, hired as an independent hauler by Menards and then terminated when he tried to change his schedule, testified for almost 3 hours before the NLRB on Wednesday.
They got pamphlets that they handed me about be your own boss and make big money. They'd have you put a GPS unit in your truck. I'd be getting questioned about a lunch break or a delivery or how many hours I'm working. So it turned into being more and more control, right down to the minute by minute. Towards the end of the employment, I was trying to change my schedule so that I could get other work. I was told then that, no, you need to be available all the time for us, even though we don't have work for you. The manager, he's just treating you like an employee, controlling me so much, and I knew that wasn't right.
Workers Independent News is brought to you by the Office and Professional Employees International Union, online at opeiu.org. Workers Independent News is made possible in part through underwriting support from the American Federation of Teachers. You've been listening to WIN, Workers Independent News. For more information, visit laborradio.org.
All things Randy at randyrhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Oh, you got to be kidding me. Major General Haight, H-A-I-G-H-T, not H-A-T-E like Trump. No. They just made him resign because he and his wife over in Fort Benning there were part of the swingers lifestyle. Who the F gives a rat's ass? I thought that it was, whatever you did sexually didn't matter, except, right? Didn't you... I don't understand. I think he should have fought. I should, get Roy Cohn out of the grave and fight. Yeah, they just made him step down. I don't know why that's a story, and I don't know why that had to happen, but Robert in Naples.
Hey, Randy, how you doing?
Hey.
I got to keep you on speakerphone. I apologize for the quality. My iPhone took a dive and now it won't work. Hopefully you hear me well.
I hear you.
Okay, as far as the swingers, I think the rule is you gotta bring better than the other guy. I think that's the rule.
You got to what?
You gotta bring one better than the other guy brings.
His wife is very attractive. I just saw a photo of her.
Well, then there should be no problem.
That's what I'm saying. A good-looking couple. You know, usually on these swinger websites, not so good-looking. They were offering something of value.
Yeah, great. Whatever. I'm calling in about the vacancy on the Supreme Court, and I think it's very important that President Obama fills it before the finality of this election. Because if you remember 2000, I think we had a Supreme Court that decided that they were going to be the people who choose the presidency, not me and you going out to vote. You know.
Well, how does he do that?
Well, doesn't he have a recess appointment? If they're not there at this time, you know, they just say, you know what, you know, that's it. We're appointing this guy or this girl, and that's it. You know, this way. That would
be historical, and they would be hysterical. That would be fireworks.
They need to be. Who cares what they think anymore? I'm tired of these people. You know, they're racist. They are beyond racist.
They are beyond racist. They are. They're white. You know what? They're white supremacists is what they are. They're Nazis. They're fascists. They believe in uber nationalism, militarized police, which Donald Trump has said. He wants more police, and he wants them to have everything that they need to get the bad ones. He's talking about deportation forces and, you know, rounding people up. How much more fascist can you get when rounding people up is part of your dinner conversation?
I don't even know how these people pick these things up.
I guess, you know, if you lock yourself in a room with like-minded people long enough, everything starts to sound doable and good. You know
what? Though, you know, they do see their country slipping away from them.
I know they do, but you know, too bad. You know,
exactly.
Too bad. This was never a white country. I don't know why they think it is. Maybe because they live in places where they've never seen anybody except another white person. And that's a crying shame. And that's why their music sucks so hard.
I'm on the other side of Florida view, right?
Yeah.
You got some areas where, you know, they got the pickup truck with the, you know, the Confederate flag. And every once in a while, you actually have a conversation with these people. And you remind them. They say, well, we like Trump because we want to go back to whatever. I said, we want to go back far enough. Florida here, the land you're stepping on, this is part of Spain. This is Spanish. You know, over there in California, that's all part of Mexico, which is also owned by Spain. You know, who are you kidding here? You know, and then parts of America were owned by France. You know, like, what gives you this idea that we all think like you?
I don't know where they get these ideas. I'm not really clear where they think that America was ever a white country. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not. I mean, I don't know what their deal is, except that, like I said, you put enough people in a closed space for long enough, get them to talking, and they will all agree on some stupid idea, and it will sound good to them.
Right, but Randy, the president needs to fill that spot, you know?
I hear you. I think that's very, that would be the boldest thing to see. A recess appointment to the U.S. Supreme Court? Holy crap, man. I don't know if even I'm ready for that.
Here's what happens, Randy. If they, God forbid, something goes like 2000 and they go to...
Yeah, I hear you. I know. It'll be 4-4.
All these
but here's what happens, just so you know. But just so you know, Robert, here's what would happen. If God forbid, you know, this it comes down to Florida again, and the big dick that we are, you know, swings back into the Supreme Court, and it's 4-4, you know, about what to do, then the lower court, meaning the Florida State Supreme Court, that whatever they ruled, and in that case, Al Gore would have been the president, right? So
no. I think you're wrong, Randy. I think it goes to the regional federal court, not the state Supreme Court. I think it would revert back to the district, and these Republicans are such bastards.
No. It goes to the court that it last was decided in. It goes back to the court that last made a decision. If the Supreme Court can't decide, then the lower court that made the last decision, their decision is the decision.
Okay, but why even?
And so in our case in 2000, it was the Florida State Supreme Court. And the Florida State Supreme Court said, keep counting the ballots, keep going. And the U.S. Supreme Court said, no, stop counting. And they said George Bush has it by 635 votes. That's what happened.
How about this? You would have think they would have done this with their wisdom, the Supreme Court. They did something totally, I think, wrong. And then they said, you know, why not say it was so close that the vice president will be Al Gore again in 2000? You know, we'll say, Bush, you won, but instead of Cheney, we have the other guy because it's that close. Why did no one ever fight for that? I don't know. I'm sorry for you for a
because the slate of electors picks the president and the vice president. It's not a split.
Right.
It's not a split
Supreme
decision.
Court decided.
Well, you're saying they should have split the baby. You know, they should have been all Solomon-like and split the baby and given the vice presidency to Al Gore. It's interesting. I hear what you're saying about the Supreme Court, though. It is dicey right now. You know, we're having the last election under the gerrymandered old racial maps, which makes the South very happy, especially in North Carolina. Even though the court has already said the maps are racially discriminatory. But after this election, we have to go back and fix them. And we got a Supreme Court now that's 4-4. And an election... Oh, I don't even think it's close, though. But you could let your mind go wild and start imagining, like, all these scenarios of, you know, contested elections and, you know... Because Trump, I don't think he's going to go quietly. He's going to make a case that it's rigged. He's already laid the groundwork. You know, he already has. And the white supremacists, they can taste it. They can taste the whiteness. It's a scary thing. So get ready to live in an America where no one can dance. No one can really play the drums. A country that has no rhythm and no rhyme and no reason. Because that could happen. I doubt it, though. Listen, have a great weekend. Thank you to Trey Crowder for taking time out of his busy day in Indiana to give us a call. That made my day. It really did. I'm such a fan. I think he's awesome. And it's exactly what we need. Thank you, guys.